Should Destiny have tech? Tech, glitches, and exploits are things that most video game developers seem to hate. It makes sense from a logical standpoint, as developers usually design games to be played in an intended way. And, naturally, when the design allows for an unintended solution, it's seen as a problem. That's why catching and fixing these bugs is part of a game's development. But what happens when these glitches make it past development and into a finished game? Well, before games could receive updates online, these quirks would just be in the game forever. Think of all the unintended ways to play games like Super Metroid, Super Mario 64, or Super Smash Bros. Melee. The small quirks that fell through the fingers of playtesters and developers were used by the players of these games to play them in unintended ways, and honestly, I don't think any of these games would be the same without them. The backwards long jump in Super Mario 64, the wave dash in Melee, even small things like the pixel perfect door skip in Super Metroid. These glitches became part of these games' identities. However, after games could connect to the internet and receive updates as the developers felt necessary, tech in video games changed forever. There's a reason many speedruns are done on the first version of most games, like Cuphead, which relies on an exploit that allows you to damage different phases of bosses as they're stored off screen. Speedrunning games is a great example of playing a game often not as a developer intended. Most developers patch these exploits, as they believe it creates a bad image for their game. However, I disagree. Exploits in tech are almost always used only in the highest levels of gameplay. It's not like someone is just going to casually perform a perfect backwards long jump when they pick up Super Mario 64 for the first time, or someone is going to skip a section of Super Mario Sunshine by picking up a coconut, putting it on the roof of the shack, walking into it, then hovering through the roof after playing the game a couple times. Tricks like these are only for the high end of players, and I believe are an important part of any video game to raise the skill ceiling and keep people playing. Take one of my favorite games, Team Fortress 2. If I were to describe it in 3 words, they would be broken yet balanced. Team Fortress 2 is one of those games that I could never get tired of, as there's always something new to learn or try. Take, for example, learning how to trimp with the Demo Man. For those who don't know, trimping is one of the strangest movement techs in any video game. It involves abusing the coating of the dash that the Demo Man gets when equipping a shield. Normally, the dash would look something like this. However, when dashing at specific angles of ground, the dash looks something like this. This small exploit, you might think would make the Demo Man unbalanced. An easy solution to this would just be to fix the programming that allows the Demo Man to do this. However, Valve, while they might not be the best at updating games, come on guys, 3 years since a major update, it's not like this game's dead. At the time of recording, it's literally the 6th most popular game on Steam. Yes, that's 2 spots above Cyberpunk, and yes, 8 spots above Among Us. Anyway, while they're not the best at updating games, they know how to keep their games fun. Instead of simply removing this trick, which would have probably been way easier, they just watched how it played out and balanced the game around it. By keeping the Sticky Bomb Launcher, Demo Man's best weapon, in the same slot as the shield, the player is given a choice. Use the best weapon, that grants movement at the cost of health, or use the shield, which grants movement as well as buffs the Demo Man's resistances. Now, TF2 isn't an example of a perfectly balanced game. Random crits. But I think it does a pretty damn well job. Part of the reason this game is so popular is because of the game's seemingly never-ending skill ceiling, meaning players will never truly master the game. Something that adds to this is, without a doubt, tech. Now let's take an example of another game, Celeste. There's literally tech in this game, out the ass. You've got supers, reverse supers, extended supers, reverse extended supers, hypers, reverse hypers, extended hypers, reverse extended hypers, wave dashes, reverse wave dashes, wall bounces, ultras, demo dashes, which literally let you dash through walls by abusing hitboxes, corner boosts, neutral jumps, and spike jumps, just to name some general tech. However, one of the main techs, and the one I'll focus on for this segment, is the wave dash. This tech works by abusing how momentum works in the game, to leave the ground at great speed, still with your dash. At one point, the developers considered removing this tech, but were unsuccessful, as their fix just made the dash harder to execute. However, they decided that it was better for the game to have tech like this, as it made the game much more fun. In the end, they even taught it to the player in the free DLC for the game as an official mechanic. Without tech like the wave dash, Celeste, in my opinion, would not be worth playing through again and again. However, the satisfying tech keeps me coming back, and even inspired me to try to speedrun the game a little. And I'm fucking horrible at it. Yet, I still play it. Why? Because every failure is a learning opportunity, and there's so much to learn, all thanks to the tech. Small note, I'm so sorry for saying the word tech so many times. Now, finally, let's get on to what you all came here for. Destiny 2. The developers at Destiny patch almost every bug that makes its way into the game. Hell, they even patched worldline skating once, and are in the process of patching it again, effectively removing an entire way of playing the game, speedrunning. Now, of course, there are other ways to go fast in Destiny, but removing the fastest way that speedrunners had to move is really just a punch in the dick. From a developer standpoint, it makes sense. Being able to skip parts of the game makes their jobs harder. However, it's not like the average Destiny player is going to worldline skate across the map. Getting killed by somebody flying in with a golden gun in PvP feels like bullshit, but, well, I mean, you know what else feels like bullshit? And besides, worldline skating is almost useless in PvP. Not only is it hard to do, it also requires very specific circumstances to happen. You have to have a full super meter, you have to have heavy ammo, you have to be using the exotic sword, Worldline 0, meaning you can't be using another exotic. You have to be in a position where you're going to be able to get some super kills, and to top it all off, you have to be standing somewhere with a sharp drop-off. Not to mention, you have to know the worldline skate in the first place. I don't think this affects PvP that much at all. Worldline skating works by abusing how momentum works in Destiny. When you use the heavy attack after running, Worldline does a special attack, teleporting you forward a small distance. However, if you're able to be in the air during the teleport, and cancel the end of the animation where you slow down, you're able to preserve your speed. The original Worldline skate worked with the Warlock jump, and many roaming supers, as they cancelled the ending animation of the sword. The new Worldline skate, introduced in Beyond Light, works by cancelling the second half of the animation by jumping and using Shatter Dive at the same time. Cancelling the animation with Shatter Dive, and then jumping so you can preserve the momentum in the air. Now we should talk about the other tech introduced in Beyond Light, Titan Skating. This tech abused a glitch that would give your stasis melee ability back if you were to cancel the animation by switching to a sword, jumping, switching off the sword, then meleeing the air twice. As the stasis Titan melee ability launched you through the air at a good speed, you were able to use it to gain speed. This glitch has been patched, which is unfortunate as I thought it was one of the coolest movement abilities that we had gotten in Destiny to date. The worst part about all this to me is that they are prioritizing the fun bugs and glitches over the game-breaking ones. The fact that 2 movement techs have been patched while phantom hitting melee is still a bug speaks volumes about how disconnected Bungie seems to be to the player base. So what reason did they have to patch these speed techs? I understand why the Titan skating tech was patched, as it could have been used for some infinite melee shenanigans. But Worldline skating didn't need to be patched in my opinion. In fact, it opened up a whole new way to play the game. Not to mention, it's fun as fuck to fly around. And it's not like Worldline skating really even looks that broken from an outsider's perspective. The first time I saw it, I thought Worldline skating was just the exotic ability of the weapon. However, I believe this was patched for another reason, to lower the skill ceiling of Destiny. Now, I know what you're thinking. OMG, Mr. YouTuber's gonna talk about a Destiny is too easy? I've seen this topic 1 billion times in the last week. I'm out of here. While it might be true that most everyone who makes content about Destiny is talking about how it's too easy at the moment, including Datto for fuck's sake, I believe I can bring something new to the conversation. Tech like worldlining pleases hardcore players, as it gives them something difficult to do in exchange for more efficiency when farming loot. For casual players, something like worldline skating barely affects them, if at all. Since Destiny doesn't have any sort of in-game economy through a market or trading, the rate that people earn loot is irrelevant to other players. So, someone getting the new God Roll linear fusion rifle to take into the raid an hour before someone else hardly affects them. This is a great way that Bungie can please extremely hardcore players in Destiny, while leaving the less hardcore players unaffected. Now, I'm not saying that all of the bugs in games should just remain unpatched. Obviously, like cars falling through the floor isn't really something that anybody particularly likes. Breaking out of bounds to do difficult things with little to no effort isn't very fun for anyone either, and kind of ruins the whole experience. However, movement tech like Titan skating or Sparrow flying, in my opinion, removes almost nothing from the game for casual players and adds so much for the hardcore players. Now, let's pause and take a step back. Take a look at this gun. You probably know it, right? It's Xenophage. You might think, hey, that thing's pretty great. I use it all the time. And I would agree, it's really good. However, I fucking hate it. Xenophage is the problem that I've had with Destiny for as long as I've played it, summed up into a gun. It really makes me think, what the fuck were they thinking when one of the easiest weapons to use is also one of the best? Take for example slug shotguns. Slugs are hard to aim and require you to get up in your opponent's face to deal the best damage. This is often risky as you can die much faster in close quarters with your opponent. However, if you are able to survive, you are rewarded with a great amount of damage per second. Better yet, if you learn how to hot swap, another tech, you are rewarded with some of the best damage in the game. However, Xenophage just says, fuck that. Deals great damage from any range, requires almost zero aim or recoil control, and even deals splash damage for some reason. I believe this is why Destiny has such a massive problem with its skill ceiling. They just keep making the easiest weapons the best to use. Not satisfied yet? Okay, fine. Let's talk about PvP. Remember Season of the Worthy? Well, you probably don't. It was one of the most forgettable seasons ever. However, I'm sure you remember 600 RPM auto rifles. Auto rifles are some of the easiest weapons to use in this game, since you don't have to be very accurate at all to deal the best damage possible. Yet, someone decided that it sounded like a good idea to make it hands down the best weapon in the game for 2 seasons. I still have flashbacks about gnawing hunger. Or remember that time we had a literal rocket launcher in PvP? That was fun, wasn't it? In all seriousness, I doubt that I have to go into detail about why this thing was such a huge problem for almost 2 whole years. So, why won't the devs let Destiny be hard? To be honest, I don't really know. Anything I could honestly say is just speculation. I have a proposed fix though. Keep tech in Destiny. Patching tech feels like removing content for hardcore players. And I think we all know by now that removing content isn't really a great thing. Removing movement in particular, I believe is really harmful to a game. While out of bounds stuff is cool, I don't think removing it really is the end of the world. Low skill ceilings are a huge problem in many games, and can cause people to get burnt out of them really quickly. Learning and discovering things in video games is important to a lot of players, including myself, and when there's nothing to learn, it's really easy to get bored. Well, you made it to the end. Thanks a ton for watching my first real video. If you could, hitting the thumbs up really helps me out, and I'd love to see what you have to say about this topic in the comments. Anything I missed, didn't mention, or things you disagree with are fair game. And if you subscribe, well, that'd be freaking awesome. Depending on how well this video does, I might make more content like this, so if you like it, be sure to let me know. Thanks a ton.